There is a man named Thomas. Thomas is not famous. He is not in any history book you were assigned in school. But in 1998, in a small lighthouse on the coast of England, he did something that almost no one noticed. He turned off the light, packed his things, and walked away. Not because he quit, not because he failed, but because they told him he was no longer needed. A machine could do it now. A machine that didn't sleep, didn't eat, didn't need a pension, didn't need to feel like it mattered. Thomas was the last full-time lighthouse keeper in Britain, and the day he left, nobody threw a party. Nobody wrote a speech. The light kept blinking after he was gone, exactly the same as before. And that's the part that stays with you. Think about what a lighthouse keeper actually does. Not the romantic version, not the painting on the wall of a seaside restaurant, the real version. You wake up before the sun, you check the mechanisms, you clean the lens, a lens so precise, so carefully engineered that a single smudge could scatter the beam. You watch the weather, you log the ships. You listen to the water in a way that most people never learn to listen to anything. And you wait for the storm that might come, for the ship that might struggle, for the moment when your presence is the difference between someone making it home and someone not. Most nights nothing happens. Most nights the sea is quiet and the ships pass safely and no one needs you, but the keeper stays anyway, because the one night they don't, the one night the light goes dark and a vessel wanders into the rocks, that is not a statistic. That is someone's husband, someone's daughter, someone who kissed their family goodbye that morning and expected to see them again. The lighthouse keeper understood something most of us have forgotten, that showing up matters even when nothing happens, that presence has value even when it goes unnoticed, that being ready is its own kind of work. But we don't build our world around that anymore. We build it around what can be measured, what can be automated, what can be made more efficient. And efficiency is not wrong. Efficiency has saved lives. Efficiency has fed people and heated homes and moved medicine across oceans. But efficiency has a blind spot. It can calculate what a lighthouse keeper costs. It cannot calculate what a lighthouse keeper means. It can measure response time. It cannot measure the particular human quality of someone who chose to stay in a cold stone tower on a dark night, not because an algorithm told them to, but because they understood that people were counting on them. That understanding, that felt sense of responsibility, is not a feature you can program. It is something that grows in a person over years, something that lives in the body, not the code. And when you replace the person with the machine, you don't just save money, you delete something. Something quiet. Something that doesn't show up in the budget, but something that was real. Thomas was interviewed after he retired. A journalist found him eventually, living not far from the coast. They asked him how he felt. He said he was fine. He said the machines were reliable. He said he understood. He said it made sense. And then he said one more thing. He said sometimes he still woke up in the night, not because of nightmares, not because of regret. He woke up because something in him, something trained by decades, still believed there was a light somewhere that needed checking, still believed someone was out there on the water, still believed it was his job to make sure they could find their way home. He didn't say it was a problem, he just said it was true. And that is the thing about purpose. You can retire from a job. You cannot retire from who you became while doing it. Here's the uncomfortable question. When we talk about automation, when we talk about efficiency, about AI, about the future of work, we tend to frame it as a logistics problem. Who does the task? How fast? At what cost? But there's a different question underneath that one. What happens to the person who used to do it? Not financially, not practically. What happens to them in the place where Thomas still wakes up in the night? What happens to the part of us that needs to feel useful? That needs to believe our presence prevents some harm, that needs to feel on a cellular level that the world would be slightly worse if we weren't in it? That is not an economic question. That is a human one. And we are not very good at answering human questions when we are busy solving economic ones. The lighthouse as a concept is thousands of years old. The ancient Egyptians built them. The Romans built them. Every seafaring civilization eventually built something to say, here, this is where safety is. Follow this light and you will be okay. For most of that history, the light required a person, someone who chose, every single day, to keep it burning. And I wonder sometimes what that did to a person, over years, over decades, To know that your consistency was someone else's survival. To know that your most ordinary act, getting up, checking the mechanisms, cleaning the lens, was the thing that stood between a stranger and the rocks. I wonder if it made them feel small or if it made them feel enormous. Both probably. On different nights, Thomas packed his things. He walked away. The light kept blinking. And somewhere on the water that night, a ship passed safely. The sailors didn't know about Thomas. They never had. They just saw the light. They adjusted their course. They made it home. That is how most of what matters actually works. Not celebrated, not witnessed, not measured, just done. Again and again. By someone who decided it was worth doing, even when no one would ever know it was them. The last lighthouse keeper is gone now, but the question he left behind is still out there in the dark. What are you keeping the light on for? And is there anyone left who could tell if you stopped?